Threads is trying out a new logo. It looks italicized, sans serif and lowercase, which is interesting. Thing that really stood out to me was this A here. So they originally took the A from the @ symbol, which was part of their main logo, and have now since moved away from that and are going with this A that is a little bit closer to the D next to it. You can see that before there was a little bit of a transition, maybe from this E with the straight lines that then kind of morphed into the circular of the D. In this case, a lot of it is just going off of this circular bowl of the E and the A and the D. It looks like the logo for the actual @ symbol has grown thicker. It is also at more of an angle. If we were to draw a line across, you can see that it is now higher. You can see that they lowercased the T. So now there is a cross kind of style. There was a lot of empty space in this area before, and now there is less negative space here. I mean, they even brought the A and the T together to then get a more concise block. You can see that now there is also less space with the H, D, and T being above the rest. They really brought down the ascender of the H and D and T to then make it all connected and all as one singular thing. I think it's strong. It feels refined. It's less like it's just, this feels kind of just typed out, whereas this feels more of like a logo mark. I still don't think this is the most recognizable type. If I were to see this, just the black here, I don't know if I would see and like associate that specifically with Threads, but they're not really doing that. So maybe it's all together. I'm going to start a poll in the YouTube chat if we like it or we don't like it. And the poll here, it looks like 18 people voted and 61% like it. And the other half at 39% said they don't like it. You know what? That's a majority. They nailed it, and we'll see if it grows on you. So we'll see in the coming weeks if they refine it, if they change it. And if they do, the place you'll be able to find news about it is on File Now. And this is all about Panera Bread. Panera Bread just reminds me of like studying for finals in high school, back when it looked like this, that kind of maroon, peach, tan, almost Tuscan, referencing California style that was really big, that also felt like a PowerPoint in the 2000s. They're now updating with a new typeface, and you can see it here. It just meals good. The actual case study on 72 and Sunny, the agency that created it, said that It Just Meals Good is Panera's new creative platform, a full brand reintroduction built around the emotional power of a real meal. All of the references to it online and the comments and the polling, everyone really liked it. But I have a big issue with one part, and I'll see if you guys know it. Does this remind you of anything? When you look at this, if I didn't tell you it was Panera, would you think it is maybe a different company? Is it just me? What do you think? Especially down here with Toolicious, it immediately reads as Subway to me. Yes, yep, Subway. Yep. Everybody is all saying Subway. So I was surprised to not see that mentioned. And now they have played around with this olive green before and the yellow, but when it's put together like this, especially with this big bold type, that's when I really felt like it turned into Subway. And I was surprised to see that that wasn't mentioned, since that is a big competitor to them. When they have it as kind of this case study, I think it is really pretty, and they do some really cool stuff, especially when they're putting it on top of the tan product photography. That definitely does not feel like Subway to me. I like the script that it has. It feels a little bit dated, it feels a little bit late 20-teens, but I think in general, Panera doesn't need to feel like it's the next fashion spot for graphic design, as long as it feels comfortable. But yeah, over here, I'm also reading Subway, especially when you have this sandwich. I always get the French onion soup in a bread bowl. And then I also get a side of macaroni and cheese because I'm a child. Next up, we have a story about one of London's most iconic buildings getting a new identity. The story is coming to us via Rosie Hilder from Creative Block. It says St. Paul's Cathedral undergoes a pentagram-led makeover. So this is St. Paul's Cathedral. It looks a little bit like the Capitol building. Like if you were to knock me out and wake me up and say, "Where are you?" I might immediately just be like, "Oh, I'm in Washington, D.C." Which obviously this predates Washington, D.C. So I guess Washington, D.C. looks like this. But one of the things I thought was really interesting was this almost exponent higher up of having the T and the S. And that actually comes from a reference to the original history of the building. It says that the elevated S and T are a subtle nod to the building's history and are inspired by typographic details found in a book in the cathedral's library. So they are going back to the source material, which is always really nice. It says in terms of type, there is Dynamos, Arizona Flare as the primary typeface, and Railway is the secondary typeface. And if you guys are interested in having Railway for yourself, it's available on Adobe Fonts. It says the color palette is perhaps brighter than one might expect for a place of worship. It draws inspiration from interior of the cathedral, from the tones of the floor and the walls to the vibrant colors of the ceiling mosaics. They do also call out in the article the lack of the apostrophe may upset some, as might the full stop after Paul, but hopefully most people will be distracted by the form of the letters crafted from characters within the word mark in the accompanying monogram. So this is the monogram, which I think is really pretty. It has that SP. It really intertwines, and you kind of take out the cut of the P right here. So we can even showcase it ourselves. If we were to kind of like add this, I don't think that would be as ownable. It would kind of just look like you overlap two things. Kind of negative space it creates an interesting word mark that feels more ownable. I originally was not wild about the elevated T and the S, but the more that I read about it, I found it a lot more charming. It feels modern. It feels nice. Now, this is a Photoshop news story. I will say Adobe has not asked me to mention this. This is just something that I saw and I thought was interesting. And so I am bringing it up on my own accord. Terry Lee White, as you guys know, is an Adobe evangelist, and he has a really good breakdown of 8 new features that just came with the Photoshop update that was released last week. Just wanted to walk you guys through a few of them. You have reflection removal, and it will create a separate reflection layer for you, and then it will generate a different image on top of your image. You can always use masking, you can use opacity to get it to a place that you like if you want to still have the essence of a reflection. Then, of course, I'm sure you guys have seen this. This is just one that is now out with this dynamic text and being able to create circles and arches. Before, you had to do some really weird roundabout ways of being able to do text on type. And now you can easily go into Photoshop and you can create these arches, you can create these circles, you can create a bunch of different stuff that then is all just easy one-click button. One that I'm sure people are super excited about. This is what I'm most excited about. Is layer cleanup is now in Photoshop, baby. So not only can you delete empty layers, you can also rename layers. And this is going to be either for a selection of layers that you want or the entire document. It's just this cute little sweep that you have down here in the bottom of the side of Photoshop, and it just helps you go, and then you will then get a brief description of whatever is on the layer in your layer panel. So finally, you have no excuse. Then we have some adjustment advancements. These are ones that are now included in your essentials, and they are adjustments that can be suggested to you for your own creation of actions. Now, when you select these, though, it will run through a series of actions in Photoshop to then create the changes that it is saying. It's not just going to do like an AI thing where it just gives you a plop. It'll do the actual historical steps to then make those changes in Photoshop, and then you'll be able to see them. That way, it's not just going to this black box and then coming out with a result. It's coming out with the actual steps that are there. They also did a enhancement to different distraction removals. So before, maybe there was, like people or wires. Now there is a very granular attention to detail as to what are labeled as distractions and what you want to remove from a photo. And it color codes it to all the different things. So then you're able to select what you want to get rid of, what you don't want to get rid of. You can see here when he goes to find distractions, it can pick up animals, barriers, fixtures, poles, potholes and puddles, spots and dust, urban elements, vegetation, vehicles, all of that. And then you'll be able to then remove it from your image. It'll put it on top. That way it is non-destructive. And then can also mask things in and out if that's something that you want. The big winner that everyone's talking about online, obviously, is also rotate object. This uses generative credits to then be able to go and take an image and like rotate it. It is low poly at first. It's like a low resolution. Then once you put it in, it then brings it all together and ups the resolution, and then you can use like harmonize to bring it together. Thank you, Terry, for giving such a great rundown on what's up with Photoshop. Moving on to some Instagram updates. This is something that hit towards the middle of the end of last week. These are new original content guidelines. They're updating how they are rewarding original content. The same protections that they introduced into Reels are now expanding to photos and carousels, which means that accounts that primarily re-upload others' work without adding meaningful creative input will no longer be eligible for recommendations across Instagram. This is really a hopeful way to clean out the algorithm to make sure that it's not going to just be people reposting other people's content and getting all of the benefits from it without any of the hard work. And that's going to affect over the coming weeks or so. Let's talk about something that makes me nervous, though. This is coming from Petapixel. This is from Jeremy Gray. They are reporting that there is a Kickstarter out called the Viper Pro tripod. And this is a tripod that does not need to have a foundation based on legs. They says that the maker says if it holds, you can shoot, which is a terrifying sentence to me. If it holds, you can shoot. It says that it has a built-in hook and flipping central column, which fundamentally changes how photographers and videographers can stabilize their gear. And it is a Kickstarter that is currently selling it for, I believe, an early bird of $279 and $309. I always like to warn, it is a Kickstarter. I bought a light on Kickstarter, I think back in 2022. I still have not gotten it. They send me a message like every 4 months being like, here it comes. We're getting ready to send it to you. We need your address. And it's like, I don't know if I'll ever get that light, which is on me. So just as I'm saying with this is not an endorsement from Adobe. It's hardly an endorsement from Ryan. It's just, I think it's interesting and also terrifying. And then our last story of the week before we move on to resources is something come to us from Cartoon Brew. This is Jamie Lang saying the Oscars set new VFX AI rules for next year's 99th ceremony. And it says that the Academy Board of Governors have signed off an award rule and campaign regulations for the 99th Oscars, which is exciting. I think they're on YouTube next year, right? So that's pretty cool. And it says that the Academy's writing categories have been updated to explicitly require human authorship on screenplays, and the group has reserved the right to request more information about how Gen AI was used on many submissions. And it says that acting nominations are also restricted to roles that demonstrably performed by humans with their consent. So I think all the dead people in their fakes and other things are now going to not be eligible for Oscars, which is wonderful because I don't want a dead person to win the Oscar for best performance. Also, as far as VFX goes, now all Academy members will be required to watch the 3-minute before and after reels from the VFX Bake Off, which I did not know it was called the VFX Bake Off, but I love that. It makes me think of the Great British Bake Off, and it would be super interesting. And apparently it's scheduled for January 8th to 10th, 2027. And if you guys don't know, January 10th is my birthday. And if you guys want to send me birthday wishes, mark it on your calendar right now. Our first resource is for people who are After Effects users. So we've done some photography. Now let's go into motion designers. This one is for creating grids in After Effects. If you've ever wanted to create a grid that's circular, like a Ferris wheel or something, you might have wanted to be able to do it a lot easier than using expressions or moving things around and adjusting the orientation. This is all about making it easier to build circular grids, rectangular grids. They also have a path grid, and then they also have a spherical grid. It is on sale right now. It will eventually be $35, but after the 9th, which is Saturday, you'll be able to get it for a discount. This is $27.99, and it looks like the grid builder is actually a pretty simple user interface, being able to just go and kind of click out what is being gridded and kind of moving elements around your project. And it says that you can create, manage, and animate complex layouts with a single null. So that's for all the motion designers in the chat. This was one that I wanted to feature last week and we ran out of time, so I want to make sure that we feature it today. And this is coming to us from Jason Sweat and his Art Director Toolbox.
Beyond ripping pages out of niche magazines, here are the best sources for visuals you can't find on Pinterest. Film Grab, Shot Deck, Frameset, Flim, Shot Cafe. These are all databases of film, TV, or music video screen grabs. All of these resources and others are linked at my website, thetoolbox.art, which is full of all my Art Director bookmarks that have been public for 7 years now. Enjoy.
So extremely resourceful. A big shout out to Jason for being able to make that. Also, the website is really great. As he was saying, the Art Director Toolbox, which is a really good place to be able to learn new resources. He's constantly keeping it updated, and that is all fully free for you to be able to access. The ones that he called out that I personally also use is Cosmos. Cosmos is a really good resource gatherer because you can see that there's not really a overburdened of AI slop everywhere right now. If you go onto Pinterest, most of it is just AI, even if it's not labeled as AI. So it's nice to be able to go through. And as he said, it's really easy to find the source material. And then I also check out Arena. Arena tends to be a little bit more webby than it does visual for me. So they have a good newsletter that I like to get, and they like to highlight stuff. But Arena and Cosmos are the two that I really identify with and use a lot off of it. But I still need to go and fully experiment and look around the toolbox, because if you guys check out the actual website, which is toolbox.art, he has a bunch of tags to it, and you can be able to go through. Oh, look, he has the cover junkie here, which we actually featured last week. And so you can look through design, writing, media platforms, stock, publications, mock-ups, lots of different stuff. And then you can also, of course, join the newsletter. A big shout out to him for letting us include that video and then also just sharing all that information. Next up, we're going to talk about some colors here. And this is some photo palettes. This is a way to be able to generate beautiful color palettes from your photos, whether you're a designer, artist, or just love colors. Photo palettes helps you extract stunning color combinations from any image, save palettes to your private library, or share them with the community. It's also a really fun way to be able to explore other options, to be able to see other users that have uploaded cool pictures and then seeing how it can reflect whatever you're working on. So it could be a inference or inspiration that comes from having a moody, cloudy day with a train. Maybe that aligns more with what you're working on, or maybe it could be something that's more like Bermuda. That is just photopalettes.com, and it's just really pretty, entirely free. I mean, yeah, look at this. This is so pretty. And then as you go through, it even has all of this hex code that you can copy. You can change out the background to see how it looks on different stuff. You can turn gradients on and off to see if you want just to have the steps. You can switch which kind of color mode it's in, and then you can also see if there are different color wheels that you want to then be able to work with or against. You can also favorite it, and this comes to us as a free option, which is really nice. So that's just photopalettes.com, and I recommend checking it out as a resource. This one is for photographers who want to change the lighting. I wanted to include the fact that Project Light Touch was mentioned at Adobe Mac and it is not out yet, and so this one is kind of close to that idea. This is from Vividian, and they have a new Photoshop plugin that is using AI to change the photo lighting. This isn't just being able to point the direction of it. It is lighting it in different ways without prompts. It comes with 100 different preset, professionally curated lighting presets with studio, environmental, and cinematic styles. And it can say that each relight is applied on its own fully editable Photoshop layer so that you can adjust and you can change opacity or mask or what have you. But the standout feature that is being highlighted by David Crew from Petapixel is that custom environment tools can also be added to the tool so that you can then take a lighting signature from any reference image and then apply it to a new piece of work. So if you already have a set or a series of something that is taken in that style, in that lighting way, and maybe you took a shot where some settings changed, or maybe it was a different day, or maybe you went on a lunch break and you came back and it was different, you can then use it to then apply it to the new image, which is really cool. They said that they're offering a free tier with 30 credits to try it out, and then they have plans that start at $10 monthly with 130 credits per month and range up to $55 per month with 950 credits. And then if you go even over top of that, there are even additional credits available separately. But especially if you're in a pinch, if you're working on some different stuff, I definitely would suggest checking that out. For this one, it is a resource for designers and people that are just using type in general. This is something to be able to explore Unicode. Unicode is an international standard that assigns a unique number to every character, symbol, and emoji across all writing systems, and it enables consistent text representations across different platforms, languages, and programs, solving the corruption issues of older limited encoding systems. It covers over 172 scripts, alphabet, symbols, emojis, and historical scripts. And this is a really fun explorer. It almost looks like Mahjong to me, where you can go and you can click through different Unicode symbols to learn about them. So this is just charcuterie.elastic.ch, and it's best viewed on desktop here. And you can see as you click through, you're able to then kind of expand the different ones. Like now we're in Mandarin, which I need to get out of, so you can then collapse it or bring it back to the center. And it's just like a fun way to then also find the different history, to be able to find things that are similar to it. And you can see that, yeah, this is the small letter around omega, and it is Cyrillic, which is cool. It even has a really nice noise on it too, which I don't think I'm sharing my sound, but I can do it just for a second. Sounds good. And so that's just a free resource for you guys to check out. Our last resource that we have is telling you that you're biased. And this is all about Cognitive Bias Index. It is a tool for identifying and mitigating the systemic errors in thinking that affect the decision and judgments that human makes. Doesn't matter your upbringing, doesn't matter how open-minded you are, you have your biases that are just a fact of life. And so it's a really good way to be able to stay aware of those biases and being able to apply them to your designs and your creations, even your photos, your videos, your editing. Like, You want to make sure that you are not creating a barrier for another group of people that isn't necessarily warranted. And so this is a collection of different tools that you can use and you can test against to see how you land and how your work is landing. And so that is just available via Cognitive Bias Index-Tools. So our fonts of the week is Johannes and Fenway. It's a tie. Can you believe it? Not me. Johannes is techno meets black letter. It says it's hard to believe that this design actually dates back all the way to the 1930s, and it is based on the Johannes type design by Johannes Schultz for the Jentz and Hayes type foundry in Hamburg, and they digitized it and extended its distinctive and unusual typeface, and it's a faithful revival of the original design. But then they also have one that has a little bit more contemporary shapes for some letters. So it comes in two weights. You have here the regular and then the original regular, and you can mess around with them. Then we have the Fenway banner variable, which was originally commissioned for Sports Illustrated, which is fun. It's this serif font that has excellent copy fit and strong color. It has precisely the qualities needed for a rigorous book typography and demanding publication design. It is robust with italics, economic, both holding the potential to be stalwart mainstays for any typographic designer. And it was designed by Matthew Carter, Richard Lumpton, and Jill Pacoda of the Type Founders contributed in the expansion. And Fenway banner is a font family from Carter and Cone. Very pretty. Can be used in all caps, can be used in letter case, title case, everything in between. Every single time there is an update to this website, I feature it because Neil.fun is one of the most fun websites on the internet. It constantly is a bunch of internet toys that you can go around and play with. This is best viewed and experienced on desktop because you really can't do it on mobile. And it is bringing your little cursor to camp. And it's that, I mean, that's pretty much what it is. It uses live action of where you are placing your cursor on the screen, and you can bring it around and do little activities. It's even got some fun sound design. And you can see a bunch of other cursors all around here. And you can go and you can interact with stuff. You get different badges that you can go through. You can see the origin of people everywhere. Oop, what's this guy? Oop, I got a seashell by the seashore. That means that I can then add that to my currency. Super fun, super stupid. No real use case except just fun and joy on the internet. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. My name is Ryan Selvy. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram. And thank you guys all for being here. We'll be here same time, same place next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.